Alright, so we're down in the shop again today. It's time for another project. It's something that I said I was going to do in another video. Today, I'm improving dollar store steak knives. Might seem like a lesson in futility, but learning how to improve something that was made to a different style, different standard, and just a different aesthetic is important in learning how to make it yourself. Now, I've got my belt sander set up, and the thing I'm going to be working on right now is fixing these handles. They're rather square on the edges here. Doesn't make for a very comfortable grip. I don't like it so much, so I want to round off the upper corners and the underside here, make it a bit smaller of a handle and a little bit more comfortable of a grip. So let's get some gas masks on and we'll start altering some knives. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so that's the dollar store steak knives cleaned up. You could see on the video that I ran the blade over the belt sander a few times. I was thinking I was going to have to pull out the bench grinder for this, but I don't think it'll be necessary. I've ground down the points of the serrated edge so that they're not nearly as prominent. Still sharp, and they're still pretty pointy. And some of these steak knives need to be adjusted a little bit on their own. But they're at least comfortable in the hand now. Not like you're going to war with these. So they're only little steak knives. They are decent quality. The metal is pretty stiff, right? It's not... I've seen cheap steak knives before that if you put some pressure on them, the handle would break. The plastic ones would have popped out. You might have bent the knife out of shape. Biggest problem with these, they are marked as stainless steel, which is nice. But the biggest problem is that the teeth are much too aggressive. So unless you like cutting up your steak with like a chainsaw, then, you know, these are a bit too aggressive. So the next step is to get out my can of clear Varathane. Make sure I got all the little bits and pieces off of here. I had 80 grit sandpaper on the belt grinder. It's old sandpaper, so it was probably nowhere near 80 grit anymore. But the big thing to do now is to restain the handles. I got painter's tape here. I think I'll just take painter's tape and tape the blade and just dip the handle. See if I can't hang them up to dry kind of thing and drip dry. It'll give me less to have to sand off. Alright, so that's not going to work exactly as I hoped. So here's the end result of this project. As you can see, knives look pretty different than what they started with. This is one of the ones that was red. I didn't try to remove all the red stain of it. Just doesn't offend me to have a little old stain onto it. As long as it's more comfortable grip, hopefully this will work. So what I end up in the end with, I have a better, more comfortable handle. The edges have been rounded over very much. Reduced the size a little bit. The finish on it is now much more durable, because the original finish, in all honesty, and some of the ones that I showed was pretty much gone. So that didn't help the longevity of the knife at all. Now some of these, this one and this one, both have little thickened drops of polyurethane on the end of the handle. Literally just going to take sandpaper, give it a little sanding off, and maybe a little touch up with a little bit more polyurethane to fix it up. That's part of where it was hanging by the knife, and that was the drip point. I think I have a a kitchen sponge here somewhere that I've used for finish work before that would help in cleaning up some of the bumpiness. Some of that is because it's cold here in the shop and not the ideal temperature for polyurethane to dry at. Now this is the one I had in my other video where I was showing the grinder. So all the teeth have been ground off this one. The handle looks pretty good to me. So you can see that it's much more rounded over. Both here and along here on the bottom was thick ridges. It's not now much more of a rounded handle and much more comfortable of a grip. So even though you start off with something not so good, something cheap from dollar store maybe, these were $4 a pack. So I paid $8 for 2 sets. One of them had sat around the house long enough waiting for me to do this project that to finish it all worn off them, and we hadn't even really used them all that much. Now this one I did something a little different with. I sprayed it with a bit of Rust-Oleum clear for the last couple of coats. That worked out okay. I still got a little drip on the edge that needs to be sanded back a little bit. It doesn't have nearly as much bumpiness as the other knives, so that's nice. This one I taped up. Turned out that the polyurethane is thick enough that I didn't really need to be taping the blades, so all the other ones I didn't really bother with it. The one thing I do now have, of course, is right on the edge of the blade. You can just see it there, I think. There's a bit of polyurethane dirt or something onto the blade, so I'll need to clean that up. So that's my steak knife project. It has been an improvement on these knives, and hopefully we'll get to use them for a few years before they start wearing out, or maybe I'll need to sharpen them again. But I hope you enjoyed the project. I hope you'll come back and see me again in my next project. It's going to be a DIY project, I believe, and maybe you'll find that informative as well. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're happy and safe, and I'll see you in the next video.